Hey everyone, we're back. This is episode 4 of Pass the Pilot with John McFadden and myself, Stefan. So we are thinking about how can we show to you guys out there how we want to do a live use case, right? Where we want to show you how an agent is sort of building itself, an agent that is thinking about a specific application scenario in a business context, and then it starts building out itself. So this is where we're freestyling, and let's see where we're getting with this.
Yeah, so what my idea is basically, since we're trying to come up with, what's a good use case to demo stuff, I think let's just ask, one of the many chat assistants, what should
Mhm.
we what should we demo?
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and share. I'll share my screen just so everyone can see that.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and ask it. Claude, let's go ahead and say, right, I want to demo a use case. Let's just say give me a use case for accounting that is relevant for an agentic AI platform. And we'll just take
Let's
whatever it gives
let's give
us.
it maybe an industry. I would have given it also an industry to become specific. Let's see what it comes up with.
Let's go ahead and say, right, well, what industry are you thinking? Make this specific to the, I don't know, finance
Um,
industry.
Finance industry, yeah, financial products.
Cool. Yeah, so I think what we can do now, Steph, is we can take this use case because this is what we do when we build a use case, right? We take all the
Yes,
details, right? Now this would be not something AI generated, but something that would be um, from a customer. And we basically
right.
give it to the
We would
agent.
take a problem set, right, that they give
Yep.
us and the challenges, and we analyze that and come up with like, hey, here's really where AI can help you, right? Because we want to find the nuggets really where AI makes sense and not just go in and replace for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I think let's pick one. We have the problem. So we have the problem space. This is still kind of broad. Let's go ahead and say, right, please narrow this down to one problem that exists that could be used for. Just simply give us a description of the problem as it exists today. The problem with some of these AI assistants is they like to just be very verbose, and it's like we just want something
Yeah,
straightforward.
they like to talk a lot.
All right, so yeah, so an invoice arrives, someone in the finance or operation has to manually pull the relevant agreement, read it, interpret the terms. Um,
I mean, that's a good one. That is a good
yeah,
one, right?
yeah,
So that's basically a realistic scenario that a client comes to us and says like, "Hey, we have this problem." As a next step, Johnny, how would you keep this going into building a solution?
yeah. So let's say this comes in from, let's say it's an email, right? All right, I would just copy this. I would come to Vertesia's AI Studio and I would ask our general agent. So our general agent is one that is, well, it's general. And I would simply, I would pretend almost as if I'm talking to a person that's going to help me build this out. And I would say,
Right,
right,
like you talk to one of our developers, right?
yep, exactly. So I'd say we have a problem with, um, let's just say customer with a problem that I've outlined below. Please help me come up with an AI solution for this uh, using the Vertesia platform.
Yeah. And
So
maybe
just,
maybe one more finesse. I mean, we can do this step by step, but I think you can
Yep.
put it right in the prompt. Create an architecture for it, right?
Yep.
Give me the prompt documents for it, right? So we give it a little bit instructions already of where we're trying to get with this, because this is now our developer. This is our right arm, right? Our strong arm, where now we begin with giving it the problem, letting it figure out the solution and already build the solution. And this is, of course,
Yep.
done by prompting. And in the future, we're going to show how Vertesia has taken this even further by having actually the agent do it all. But for now, we want to show it step by step, right?
Uh, to give to an agent like yourself. Uh,
Self-reflection.
uh, so then I
So,
just say
and something
here,
that yeah,
I was just gonna say, here's
something
an
that we
outline of the
find
problem,
is, yeah,
and I'm gonna copy
yeah,
and paste the command.
perfect. So from experience, I think I find personally that the Gemini models are not so well suited to do these kind of things. Really, Sonnet and Anthropic seems to be uh, really, really good at these things.
Yeah. I tend to use Claude Sonnet for these as well. I've found that the reasoning, you definitely want to use the reasoning models when you're running agents. I know we've
Yeah,
done some internal tests around
Yeah.
GPT and the more advanced Gemini reasoning models, and they all work with agents, but I have seen that Claude is the most
I,
thorough. But
I
we
think
can
we
see
need to
what the
put this
agent.
a little bit into context, Johnny.
Yep.
This is amazing. So when you say reasoning, it is really the orchestration of sub-agents, right? This is where Sonnet and Opus are leading the field beyond anything. Flash is so and so GPT. So, and this is a difference between having a conversational LLM that you're talking to with your personal interface, right, versus orchestrating something at scale where you need to have one master, and we talked about in the previous casts, managing all the sub-agents. So what's
Yeah.
what's happening here? It started right getting into it, huh?
Yeah, so it just went ahead and got after it. So let's scroll to the top and see what it did. So the first thing you'll see it did, right, was it used its think tool. And if I hover over this, I can actually see what it was thinking about what it needs to give me. Um, and so here's what it came back with. It came back with, the high level description of the architecture. It's giving me the core components. So it's saying, you're going to need an agreement knowledge base to work from. You're going to need an agent that's going to focus on extracting the
Yeah.
fees and the terms.
So really the pre-processing, the
Yep.
validation part.
Validating the invoices, right? And I think it's important to call out, right? This is a fake use case we just made up. If this was a real customer, we would have a lot of specifications that we would be instructing the agent on here. Um,
Or maybe not even specifications, Johnny. In many cases, customers are just throwing documents at us. This is something we got from our colleagues, right? This is how
yeah.
they do it. The Vertesia platform will analyze all of that and make sense of it, and then bring it to this level where we can brief an agent to do it, right? So there's a lot going into what we're doing here before.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And something else that's really powerful. So you can see it kind of thought through the design and the structure and everything. It gave us the prompt of how we're going to instruct this agent to ultimately do this. But you'll notice something that's missing is we don't have any data to work with. We don't have any documents to work with. And so you'll notice the agent is actually offering, do you want me to set up some document collections? And so it's also offering to build the agent for us. But what I'm going to have it do before anything is uh, create sample documents that can be used to test this use case.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Synthetic testing, right? This is really what it comes down to, where the platform creates all the necessary sample data, mimicking what, for example, a financial report, an audit report, would look like out there in the real life. And we did examples with Acme Corp, or hey, the big merger between Disney and MGM. So simulating hundreds of documents that can go into such a test here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is one of the biggest problems that I've really found our platform useful for is creating the sample data because it's really hard to build a use case if you don't have sample data. And a lot of times when you're working with customers before they're customers and you're just trying to prove that you can solve their problems, they they don't always want to, give you all their data, right? A lot of customers will sign an NDA with us, but some of
Yeah.
them early in the conversation, they're right, they're like, well, why would I just give you all my data? I don't want to sign an NDA with you, right? And so it's
Mhm.
really, really good for kind of building trust and showing I think the proof of the concepts that we're talking about and the proof of value, because the documents that these agents create are extremely realistic.
And yeah, detailed, realistic, and very authentic. The numbers might all be not the right numbers because they are simulated. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's also really strong, just while we're on this topic and the agent is working, is the ability to infer missing information or missing documents, right? So,
Yep.
for example, giving it a number of creative assets to infer a creative brief. Reverse engineering is really what's possible here. So you're filling in the gaps, right?
Yep.
And you just don't do that on a hallucination assumption. You take bits and pieces that you have, structure it into a new document um, in order to use it for testing, right? So yeah, did that on another case. Would love to show that maybe next time how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think while this is running, it makes sense, I think, to start building the agent that we're going to use. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think it makes sense to go ahead and take this prompt uh,
Yeah.
and if I can grab this. Oh, we're gonna have to figure that out. I think we can take this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this into Markdown. So I'm gonna go ahead and just duplicate this tab so we don't lose it. And so I'm curious, how do you handle this? So when you get a prompt and it's not in Markdown code, I typically ask an agent to put the prompt in Markdown code. Uh, I forgot this time, but is that
Yeah.
typically what you'll do? So I'll say,
So
can you
typically
take this
what
prompt?
I would have what I would have done the last few weeks, I would immediately in my prompt would say like give me output document. So for every prompt for every agent, it would create me a document, a markdown document. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did it a little bit differently.
But all of this is about to
Which again
change.
is
All of this is about to change, right?
yes, yes, it is. When we have basically the studio assistant. Um,
Studio
you want to talk a
assistant
little bit
is
about the studio
insane.
assistant stuff? This is something I'm really excited about, but I'm jealous you've actually played with it a lot more than I have.
I got a chance actually to build a use case with our new feature in the pipeline, and I think I also wrote a blog about it. It's Studio Assistant and Hybrid Process Engine. Studio Assistant really allows you what Johnny's doing manually here now, right? Giving it a brief and then creating the prompts and then copy it and put that into another, and now we can build the interactions. And then Johnny has created synthetic data, and he will copy that data, make it available to the agent so the agent can test it. That will create a log from the agent run, and then Johnny can take the errors, things that didn't go well, give it to the agent to improve the prompt based on the errors and so on. But it's a constant pushing prompts and doing stuff and manually moving things around. But with our latest feature, Studio Assistant, this is why Johnny and I get really excited about it. Vertesia is doing it all. So
Yeah,
you're giving it the use case. You're giving it, and then you're telling it, okay, here's the use case. I need you to build that architecture. I need you to create synthetic test data. Actually, it would do that by itself. You might not even have to tell it. And then it will start not only testing itself, but it will start improving upon itself. So it will build the Vertesia platform elements and components, such as interactions, document types, all of the things that you see here in Studio that so far we humans create manually, everything on the left-hand side, these are all elements, a database, for example, an administrator would create. But with Studio Assistant, Vertesia Assistant is doing all of that. It's conceiving it, it's solving a problem, it creates an architecture, it tests it, and it improves upon itself. And then basically you get a coffee or or you come
Or you
back
build
an
another agent while that agent's
hour
building.
or two later, or you build another agent, right? Consecutively test itself, continually test itself until it reaches certain KPIs that you give it. These are success criteria. When you reach this point, let me know. It will
Yep.
come back to you when it's ready. And
Yep.
they would say it's ready for you to test. Click here, go there, and let me know what you think. And
Yep.
then when you say like, oh, you know what, actually this part is still not working. Can you find out why? It will go back, um, reverse on itself, on its own, dig into the logs and keep going until it's ready. It's insane. I did a whole use case with that, Johnny. Um, and basically something I did manually over the course of 2.5 weeks, it did within 2 hours. So I
Yeah, and so
was
I
I
think what we're
was
talking about is kind of the next evolution of because initially when they were prompts, right? When large language models first were becoming big when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, right? Everyone was prompting. And then people started to realize, well, LLMs are actually really good at writing their own prompts. And so that's kind of where we've been. And so we've been using the system to write prompts, right? But then we have to take this, I copied this, and then
yeah,
we'll have to paste it into another agent. Or sorry, I need to create one. So we'll come to our agents, we'll create one. We'll just say, I don't know, counting agent. We'll select an environment, right? But this is all still done manually. It's very quick, right? But what we have to do is we have to create a prompt. And so what I'll do is I'll come here, I'll hit that's not supposed to happen, hit the plus button and go to prompts. And then I'll just say accounting prompt, create this,
yeah,
right? And you'll notice, right, what I'm doing is not a lot of work. Um,
yeah.
but
Copy pasting basically,
copy
right?
and
And
pasting,
creating
right?
elements.
Yeah. And then something else that's really cool, is I don't know if you ever do this stuff, but you can tell it the current day by using just JavaScript. Um, I think
Oh yeah, the teacher platform is not just prompts, right? So inside these interactions, as we call them, we're looking at an interaction which defines an agent. You can use JavaScript
yep,
inline to make decisions, to have like a process defined, and that will then fire off specific parts of a prompt into the agent interaction.
exactly. And you'll see the date is now being rendered, right? So this agent always has the most current date. Uh, and now if we come back to the one we were building, so we're in the configuration, counting
I'm
agent.
I'm a little bit lazy, Johnny, because we have a feature where you just drop the prompt and it will create the interaction for you. You just took the manual path right now.
I took the manual path, yes, because I had it create the prompt for me. And again, this
Yeah.
isn't a ton of work, but I think what's really cool is the ability for where we're basically moving towards, which is you can talk to an agent like this one we were using earlier, the one that's currently building the sample documents, which looks like it's done. But you can have it build the agent. So instead of me having to take this prompt, copy and paste it, right? The agent can just create it and then the agent's ready and it can actually run the agent and it can test the agent. And that's what you were saying you did earlier, right? Stuff with the use case where you basically had it iterate until it was giving you the expected output.
I think that will be our next episode, right?
Yeah,
It's still in alpha, it's working, and we're surprised just how well that really works. Because also, this is the one part, but the second one is hybrid process engine. It's not it can now create like a merged scenario of a workflow that you map out with notes and a graph, but it can also create that automatically, right? And it can combine that with the agentic supervision, which is making decisions, including human in the loop decisions, right? To orchestrate a workflow. It's next podcast, but guys, be stay tuned. This is going to be huge.
yeah. So it's done with the document creation. It did. a lot of work. You can see, right,
Oh
it
yeah.
built out
Violations.
invoices,
Whoa.
and it actually built out. What's really interesting is it when it builds this out, it knows to put issues to be caught, right? So you'll see here there's an
Wow.
unauthorized rate increase. And so the agent, I didn't tell it to do that, but it knows we're testing this use case. And it knows to test the use case properly, you're going to have, well, something that can be found.
Yeah,
So
validation, right? It's sort of creating false positives. No, no,
exactly.
right positives. How do you call that? Right? In order to demonstrate. So let's see if it's catching those then, right?
Yeah. So this is it. And so now what we can do is there's a couple different ways we could handle this. We could have this agent run the test that it just built the documents for. Um, I'm going to go a little different route, which is the agent we just built, the accounting agent. I'm going to go ahead and have it run on those documents. So if we come to these documents, I'm going to add these all to a collection.
Mhm.
Let's see, we have that. We don't need that one. Okay, so we have these agreements. I'm going to add it to a new collection. I'll just say accounting use case. And so what I'm doing is I'm sort of isolating these documents in their own collection for testing purposes.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
that you can look right here. So they're sort of like virtual folders, and they allow you to kind of isolate things. But what we can do now is we can actually run the agent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to use this prompt all in the same thing. So now I'm going to test this before building a separate agent and just make sure that it works. So I'm going to basically ask it to, given the prompt you created earlier for the agent, uh, I need you to test
Oh yeah.
this use
This
case.
is a little bit of a taste of what's going to come next episode, right?
Yeah, and so
So
what
the
I'm actually
agent
going
can
to do is
test its own outputs. Yeah.
instead of having this agent do it, I'm going to have it spawn a sub agent to do it. And so we'll say, can you please use a sub agent to do this test? You should pass the prompt you created above to this sub agent as instructions. Monitor the agent as it runs, and then report back on how it did with the use case. So now basically what I'm doing is I'm having the agent spawn off another agent to test this, and then it's going to report back and basically grade the agent that it spawned on how it did. And so this is actually probably more relevant now that I'm thinking about it because you're right, stuff. This is kind of what we're showing, I think, next week. It's a little different, but the concept is the same, that it's going to spawn off a completely separate sub agent.
And we should be able to see that sub agent also when the work stream kicks in.
Yep. So it's setting up a validation test.
It's creating documents. You see that? As we talked about, it's creating testing documents. You see that? Yeah, a number of invoices,
Yep.
fee agreement document. Oh my God, it's going the whole 9 yards.
And you can see
Looking
here
for violations. Nice.
the documents it's creating. You can actually see these here, um, just at a quick glance to understand what it's building.
Yeah, he's saying wonderful.
And it's creating a lot
And
of
that is
documents.
probably, and because it's smart and you didn't even tell it to, I'm very confident. It showed us the errors it built into it, right? So there's some things to catch, right?
Yep.
All of these here, I think it's going to test against that by itself.
Yep, it built. And this is kind of the main, I think the main thing that's so cool is that it's building everything. It's not just the documents that it needs to test. It's not just the agent and the prompt. It's literally building everything. It helps you understand. So, I mean, when I use an agent to build a use case, I use it to help me understand the industry, help me understand the problems that industry faces. Because if you think about how I would do it without, let's take AI out of the picture, what I would do normally is I'd go on Google, right? I would research everything. I'd have to learn everything. I'd have to read through, a bunch of information around
Document it
accounting,
all.
right? And I still do some of that, but I do it with an agent. So I get the knowledge a lot quicker. Plus, I'm able to rely on the agent's expertise, which is usually better than mine in a lot of realms like accounting, for example, where I have no training. Um, and so it does all of this, right? And it's basically a tool that I use to help me do what I would do anyways, but do it a lot more quickly and a lot more thoroughly. I think is another.
And it's one tool, right? As opposed to like using tools in isolation and jumping between them, with you basically being the data pipeline, handing over data from the one to the other. Now with Vertesia, we're bringing this all into one experience.
And you'll
Do you
see it
want to click on
actually.
details? Do you want to click on details so we see a little bit more?
Oh yeah, so it actually created as well this agent. So this is these tabs right here represent the different agents. So you have messages, all messages, which is basically all of the agent's messages in one spot. You have the main agent. So this is going to be now the orchestration agent. This was the one we initially started with. And then you have this agent that it spawned off, which is a sub agent. So this is the invoice validation agent. And you'll see this one is now going to start doing the work that it was asked to do. So if we look at what it's doing, it's saying it knows that it needs to search for and retrieve documents. It needs to search for the agreements. It needs to extract all the relevant billing details, right? And so this was all instructed by that main agent, right, without us having to do anything. So it basically knew
Right.
the prompt that it needed to use. It simply passed that to another agent, and now it's off doing the work.
Yeah. And back to the beginning, maybe where this started off, we gave it a problem set, not a solution.
Yep. And now this is where you typically would just go grab another cup of coffee.
Yeah. And I think this is where we're gonna cut it and move forward and stuff.
Yeah.
Fast forward. Yeah, these things can take a moment, maybe 10 minutes until you get to the next step. But yeah, this is all basically, even if you have like a lot of credit and tokens with the big providers, you can still tell that there's like peak times where even
Yeah.
an Anthropic goes down, and it just everything gets slower, right? The whole processing here that Vertesia is doing is, of course, using LLM models in order to do the reasoning, in order to do the thinking, to do the orchestration. So everything in here is managed by an orchestration LLM, and everything takes time.
Yep. Well, it's funny that people get, I think, impatient with, oh, this agent takes 15 minutes to run. But if you think about what it's doing and the time it normally would take, right? It's kind
Yes.
of like, well, yeah, it takes 15 minutes to run, but that's actually incredible.
Yeah.
That's not a long time.
And to something we talked about prior is then, okay, that gives me time to jump to the next project or part of the project and keep working on that, right? So, and we keep circling. We talked about the third, fourth, fifth arm last time, right?
Yep.
On our block. So it allows me to spin this off, give it a problem set, make the assessment on the outcomes, or the system making it easy for me to do these assessments, preparing it while I keep supervising a number of different processes that run at the same time, maybe all leading to the same solution in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And typically when I'm doing something like this, how I'll use this is I'll be setting this up and testing this use case. And while this agent's running, I'll do something else that I know I need to do. So in order to talk to this customer about this, I'm gonna probably put together a couple slides, right? So I'll go and I'll start
Mhm.
building those slides out. I might work with an agent to build the slides, right? But I'm gonna do something else that's basically just another step that I need to do anyways. And that allows me to kind of work in parallel with these agents to
Yeah.
get everything together really, really quickly. Um, I can also take these, I can go and I can do more research around the use case, right? So I'm gonna get a better in-depth knowledge. So I think it's important, I think, to highlight that it's not so much that I just run this agent and then I just sit there, or I go and I do
No.
other stuff, right? So it's basically allowed me to work 5 times faster, if not even 10 times faster than I typically would work, because I run an agent. While that agent runs, I'm basically managing a team, is how I look at it. You're no
Hmm.
longer an
Yeah, that's a
individual
good analogy.
contributor, but you're managing a team of agents, and you're orchestrating everything, and you're responsible for taking that, pulling it all together, making sense of it, presenting it to the client. Um, but it's a very different way of working, I would say.
It's still your responsibility to make it work, right? And
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're doing, because you might not have, you talked about, you don't know anything about finance, and that's okay, because the agent is going to fill in that particular specific knowledge to perform the testing, for example. But
Mhm.
you still, Johnny, with your skills as an engineer, you're still very much required to make an assessment on how the testing went, on
Yeah.
where there were problems that came up, on where there's maybe a logic loop, right? Why the agent cannot fulfill it, right?
Yep.
Um, and then also how to bring it down. You said you have to present it, right? You have to bring it down to a level that you can explain it. The narrative around this is also very important, because look at this. This can be this is complex, right? You wanna present this in an easy way for people to digest it, right? Without overwhelming them, because the platform is doing all of this in the background. We're just showing you guys a look under the hood. This is the whole point of this vlog here. We're showing you guys the inner workings of things. When you work with us as a client, we don't show you this stuff, right? Oh, it found a validation, rejected invoice. Okay.
Yep. And part of the testing now too is not just making sure that it's working accurately, but also that it's producing the output you want. So for example, you saw it just produce 4 documents. I probably don't want 4 documents. The client probably doesn't want 4 documents. They probably want, right, one document, or maybe they want a dashboard. And so that's kind of another part where the human element comes in, is understanding what's the best way to deliver this. Because the agent right now is just working with the assumptions it has, and it knows it can create documents. So that's what it's going to do.
You said the keyword prior, right? It's verbose. It will just
Yep.
create a lot, but a lot doesn't mean necessarily quality.
And another important thing to notice is double checking its work. This is something that we've built in that is, it really limits hallucinations, because it does everything and then it goes back and it looks at everything it did and it makes sure that it all lines up and that it's not making anything up. Now, you can't say that hallucinations are 100% eliminated, but I can say they are very few and far between, as long as you're using kind of the agents appropriately and focusing them narrowly on tasks, which is really cool to see.
I think hallucinations are that's part of what this entire technology is about, right? It's about entropy. It's about the ability to create. It means it needs to hallucinate to a certain degree
Yeah.
in order to create, right? It's all predictive algorithms. So they they go, it's not even that they go wild, they just predict something else in the context that was given.
Yep. And you'll actually see it caught something and now it's updating the document.
Hmm. Oh, great.
So it caught something that it did that it wasn't happy with, and now it's updating that invoice and that fee agreement.
Can you scroll up a bit? What did it find?
Calculation
I wrote,
inconsistencies.
yeah, inconsistency. Nice.
Right. And so this is really, really powerful, because that's something that a human would have had to go in and check, or it would have I mean, it could have been, an inaccuracy that made it into production, right? And so being able to
Yep.
test and see all this stuff is really, really important. Steph, I am gonna have to jump in a minute, just FYI.
Okay. No problem. I think we've seen a lot here. Like, so we
Yeah,
created we said like, hey, here's a use case. How would we address this even? How do we go into this? Then you created a solution, had an agent create a solution. That solution consisted of a prompt. Then you said that we want to test this, right? You had it create synthetic documents to then test itself against. And this is the last part that we saw here. It was testing itself and validating against the results, again, improving upon every step that it did. Um, that's just insane, Johnny. And I think next time we'll be
every
able to
every
show a
every
little
week
bit
it's
more
something
of that.
new.
Every week, something. And this is the amazing part of working at Vertesia. Every week we learn so much and we learn the platform, and there's constant updates coming out, which are some of them are monumental shifts in the way that we can do things. And yeah, it's just great being in this position that we can do this.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right. Thanks everyone. Johnny, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you know how the demo goes when I cut it. And everybody, thanks for your time. See you next time. Bye bye.
Awesome. See you, Steph.
See you around.